I'm just going to look pretty up here until my brother Ryan gets here. We're waiting on him. I think he might be in the potty. Who knows? But to preface everything, I want to thank everybody for coming today. After I speak, I know that my sister Shonda would like to speak, and my significant other Brandon would like to speak. And then we'll open up the floor to anyone who would like to say a few words, if they'd like. You know, how you know him, memories, you know, his oddities and quirks that you liked about him. He had a ton of them, so whatever you would like to say. I think that's everybody. Again, thank everybody for coming. My father had some influence and love for each and every one of you, and I hope you all understand that as to whatever it was. I will be relatively brief, as I don't know how well I'm going to react to all of these memories and feelings, but bear with me. My dad was a man that lived by a clearly defined set of ethics and morals and was never afraid to speak about it, especially if you've ever been in those long car rides with him. But I think a lot of that is what made him the father that I know him to be. He knew when to be stern with us kids, but also knew how to show interest and care into everything that he enjoyed and we enjoyed. He committed himself to us and the people in his life. He wore his heart on his sleeve, and he was a guiding hand that set everyone on the right path and did everything he could to support us along that way. Excuse me, gum. In times that I needed help, I always knew he was a phone call away. I'll miss his quirks the most of all, I believe. The constant, never-changing sound of him clearing his throat. The way he would adjust his glasses with his nose by scrunching his face. His childlike giddy and wonder when it came to his hobbies. His excessive creativity that he was always so eager to talk about and get my opinion on. I was lucky enough to do some editing work on some of his stories. Looking back, I could have done better to take him seriously and support his ventures, but I hope that he knew that I enjoyed his hour-long speeches about his characters and settings. I'll always envy his ability to get the absolute best deals on everything. You go to a store and all the milk gallons are $1.09. He'd find the one that was 97 cents. I'll always envy his passion for the things that he loved. I thought I was superior in his aspects to all of the nerdism, but as I've come to learn over the past 5 years and through everything you all have told me, I don't think that was the case. He was truly the nerd supreme of our family. I feel lucky to have introduced to him what I assume became his favorite piece of media, and that was Mass Effect. And to that effect, I will end this with a quote from my favorite moment in that game. This was when the character of Thane was on his deathbed and a prayer was read to him from their religion. Kalahira, mistress of inscrutable depths, I ask forgiveness. Kalahira, whose waves wear down stone and sand. Kalahira, wash the sins from this one and set him on the distant shore, on the infinite spirit. Kalahira, this one's heart is pure, but beset by wickedness and contention. Guide this one to where the traveler never tires, the lover never leaves, and the hungry never starve. Guide this one, Kalahira, and he will be a companion to you, as he was to me.
There are so many moments in life that help define who you are as a person. For me, one of those days is today. Chris was so much more than a parent to me. He was a provider, a protector, a sound voice, an enforcer, and a friend. But these things all related to how I viewed him. But he was so much more than that. He was a nerd, a geek, a party animal, a soldier, a husband, a father, and he was one of the most honorable men I ever knew. I have this very vivid memory that has been swirling in my brain since I received this news. There was snow on the ground. Chris hadn't been in our family for very long, and we were all still trying to get to know him. He tells me to get dressed and that we're going somewhere, but he wouldn't tell me where. And I begged him, "Dad, tell me." And he just smirked and remained stoic. The first stop was Chinese food, one of my favorites. While we waited for our food, he talked to me, asked me questions about school, about my interests and what I liked. And I did the same for him. I asked him questions about what he liked and tried to learn about this new man in my life. After the meal was over, I thought it was over. But then we drove to the movie theater where we went to see How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. And I was so excited. I couldn't wait to see it. We laughed so hard and had so much fun enjoying this movie together. On the way home, he asked me if I had fun, and of course my answer was yes. This was my first father-daughter date. He made me feel special. I was his only daughter, and he would tell me how happy he was to have me as his daughter. The first two books he ever gifted me were The Hobbit and Harry Potter. And as everyone who knows me knows that Harry Potter was and still is my favorite book series of all time. That memory of him gifting me that book at our first Christmas we spent together is one I will treasure forever. Every time I pick up a Harry Potter book or watch a Harry Potter movie, I will think of him fondly. Now, The Hobbit was one of his favorites, and he wanted to share something with me. It was his love language, and that was special, since he was so new in my life. He wanted to connect with me and used something I loved, reading, to do so. I like to think that he gave all of us kids special memories, but we had plenty as a family. Late night rock band concerts, World of Warcraft raid nights, Walking Dead, Monk, and Psych marathons. And everything was always an adventure with him. We went from something's missing to a family. He held us close together so that we couldn't fall apart. We are all better humans inside and out because of his influence, his love, his life lessons, and his inspiration. He will continue to live on in all of us. He made us a family. He was the thread, and even though he's gone now, his thread will forever tether us together in an unbreakable bond. I love you, Dad, so much. I will miss you greatly until my dying breath. Wherever you are, please just watch over Brooklyn. She loved you, and you can be her guardian angel now. Guide her in life like you did me. Rest easy, my sweet father.
So I didn't know Chris very well, and sorry, I'm not as planned out as Chris and Shonda were, so I'm a little improv today. I came into this family's life at a point where I did not get the chance to have a relationship with Chris as I wanted, but what I have been able to do is establish a relationship with his 5 amazing children and the 3 women that he built his life on with. Again, I don't have the stories of rock band concerts, and I do have a story. We went to the zoo, very memorable. One of the first pictures of me and Will together is a picture that Chris took, and it will be a picture that I remember for the rest of my life. Kind of in remembrance of Chris, but also to uplift the women that changed who he was as a person and also developed through the life of the children. I have a poem. I know that he loved to write poetry as well as short stories and everything else. So this is dedicated to him as well as to Jennifer, Ravonda, and Sarah. The name of the poem is 3 Women. My love is young, so young. Young is her cheek and her throat, and life is a song to be sung, with love, the word for each note. Young is her cheek and her throat, her eyes have the smile, O May, and love is the word for each note, in the song of my life today. Her eyes have the smile, O May, her heart is the heart of a dove, and the song of my life today is love, beautiful love. Her heart is the heart of a dove. Ah, would it but fly to my breast, where love, beautiful love, has made it a downy nest. Would she fly but to my breast, my love who is young, so young, I have made her a downy nest, and life is a song to be sung.
I believe from my understanding that's everyone who had planned to speak that talked to me, but now we'll open up the floor to anyone who'd like to speak. If no one would like to volunteer, it's been good seeing you all, and I'm glad you all have come to celebrate my father's life.
Hello. Will's my best friend. I feel like it'd be a disservice if I didn't say anything of how he impacted me. But I was a bright-eyed kid working at Apollo. And Will saw how hard I worked. And he said, "Hey, I got something for you. I know your work ethic and everything, and And he was like, I want to, get you in touch with my dad. He's a supervisor at Spectrum. And I said, okay, yeah. I love to talk to people. So, I got in with Spectrum, and he was my first boss. I mean, this is like my first career, doing what I did, going door to door. And I never forget how just calm he made me. It made me the person I am today. And just how much he taught me, the long car rides. I'd always call him for a question. I remember I called him one time. I moved to Louisville, and I just broke down. I said, I can't do this. I'm not selling. I can't do this. I just broke down. And he waited. He just waited. He was just sitting there in silence, and he's like, are you done? I said, yeah. He said, you're in a new area, new territory. It's going to work itself out. He trained me. He taught me everything I know about sales, about talking to people, and just how his demeanor and how he could diffuse a situation. Talking to a stranger, he could just diffuse it. And I worked for him. I never wanted to let him down. And I hope I didn't. Because I worked my ass off for him. But yeah, that's about it.
I don't have anything formal to say, and I didn't expect to, and I don't know how well I'll hold it up. Chris was my big brother. And you all knew as an adult that I got to grow up with him. And he was funny. And he was perky then too. A couple of things that I always remember that I always laugh about now that were so funny. I used to have this little monkey. I told you kids of this the other day. But you all might remember it, a little monkey from the 70s. But he had plastic hands and plastic feet. And he had a little banana. If you all remember that. And we had the pleasure of having two other women in our life that raised us. Mandy and Beulah. And we were at their house. And I told Chris, I said, I was probably 4. And I said, Chris, my monkey is sick. And he said, I'll take care of it. I'll fix it. So we went and got scissors. Oh no. And he cut it open to do surgery on it. And so he always, like they say, he always wanted to help people. And that's how he helped me, was take care of my little monkey. And then one other thing is when we lived in Jackstown, so very young, we had a friend, childhood friend, that lived on another road down from us. And me and Chris and this friend, we were down, we lived in the country, so there was these hedge apple trees that grew in the back of our farm. And a bunch of those trees down there, we're all just, there's a creek, so we like playing near the creek. And I don't know why, but I looked at Chris and Albert was the boy's name. And I said, when you all cry, does it ever make you sleepy? I said, every time I cry, I get so sleepy. They picked up hedge apples and they started throwing them at me so that I would cry and get sleepy and go to the house and go to sleep. Because they didn't want me around.
I think that'll conclude our open floor. I want to thank everyone for coming today. If you have not signed the guest book, I'd really appreciate it if you did. It's just out these back doors on your left, or at least my left from here. Kids, if I could see all of you all, Sarah, Ravonda, Mom, if you all could come upstairs with me in a moment, I'd really appreciate it. But thank you everybody for coming.